So I hope you guys don't mind if I take it a little easier, a little slower, and I sit down for this video here. Not in the best condition. I got an infected eye over here, and then a bee stung me in the leg when I was riding my motorcycle the other day. It hurts, and it is swollen. It's just, man, I feel like an absolute train wreck. Again, my eyes are like watering here. I can't even see what we're doing, right? So anyways, just bear with me through this video today. But I really wanted to share these products with you, being the SteelSeries Apex 9, the 9 Mini, and then the TKL. And there's a lot of questions and a lot of things we really need to cover with this, right? Just getting right to the chase. No, this is not an Apex Pro replacement. If anything, as far as a replacement or a change within it, which I don't think it is even, but the better comparison is the Apex 7, for example. So don't get in your mind Apex Pro throughout this video, because again, that's not what it is. So like I stated, they do make it in a Mini, which is your 60% form factor, and then they also make it in the TKL. I'm going to be showing the majority of the TKL today. They are both the exact same, minus the form factor. Of course, 70 or 60%, you don't get your errors or your shortcuts or your media dials, which I will show you on both of them. Now, a couple of specs I want to show you on the back of the box right here is the actuation point, number one, being 1.0 to 1.5 with 45 grams of force. So yes, these are very fast switches. Now, when you're talking 1.0 to 1.5, that is a minimal difference. I'll talk about it, but again, very minimal. But the key thing I want you to focus on here is the SteelSeries linear Optipoint optical switches. When I first took these boards out of the box and started using them, in my mind, before reading anything, looking over, I just popped them open, started using them. I'm thinking Omnipoint. I don't know why. I just thought Omnipoint right out the gate, thinking like on the Apex Pro again, probably like a lot of you have as well. But these, again, are not Omnipoint. They're Optipoint. And what are those? Again, we'll talk about that in this video. So first off, let's go on and look over both boards. Again, you're looking at the 60% and the TKL, and just looking top down, you can probably see the differences. Again, the switches are to the T the exact same. The difference here is the form factor. Again, you're losing your shortcuts, your arrows, and on a TKL version here, you have your media controls. Volume up, volume down, press it down, you can mute it, and then your skip track, and then a little bit of branding up there. I kind of wish they would have done a little bit more with this space rather than just branding. It kind of feels wasteful. Like maybe if we made the buttons a little bit bigger. I mean, they're perfectly fine. You can reach them perfectly fine, but just kind of weird design right there. Now, when you take both of these boards and we flip them over here, as you see, you got your rubber feet. You have two levels of pop-out feet. Then you have this little rubber door or little flap right in the middle like you saw on the Apex Pro. What that is going to store your switch puller and then your keycap puller. And let me tell you what, for pulling switches, I'll pull this over here right now for you. You can see, if I can pop that down, pop the spacebar off. For pulling switches out, it is dang near impossible. It just doesn't want to grip, being a plastic piece of junk. And well, look at that. I actually got it to work. This thing's fine for pulling keycaps, but whenever you get to pulling switches, I recommend you getting your own, a nice metal one out there. This is just absolutely horrible for pulling these switches out. Now, also as far as the build on the Apex 9s, you are going to have that aluminum plate underneath here, which your switches are going into, which are very nice because your switches are locked in there very, very tight. Again, the housing is plastic on it. Then it goes into the PBT keycaps. But the board itself is not extremely heavy or light. It's right in between. And again, with the grips on the bottom, when we slap it on a scale, let me make sure that says 0. Let's get that back to 0. Slapping it on the scale, of course, we got 4 keycaps off here. We're getting 630 grams with all of our caps on. But it really doesn't budge on your desk. You got all those grips on the bottom again, so whenever you're gaming or typing, it's not moving around. So now that we got one of our switches out of the board, there's a couple things we need to talk about. Number one being the keycaps that come on the Apex 9. They are double shot PBT keycaps, and they are thick, they are durable, they are just very solid. They got a slight grainy texture over it, kind of like you felt on a mouse before, something like that. Really, really nice keycaps right here. But more importantly, talking about the switches, this board is going to be hot swap with the SteelSeries Optipoint switches right here, being optical. You're not going to be able to swap it out with mechanical switches because, again, it has a laser bar going through, and that's how it registers, bam, right down there. So me, what I was thinking, I'm like, well, hey, I got a lot of optical switches. Can I just slap one of these in and make it work? And the funny thing about that, which my camera's not going to be able to pick it up, but right up here, it says Gateron. So these are Gateron yellow optical switches. they're not SteelSeries. SteelSeries always puts their name on their switches. I believe back in the days, what was before the Apex 7? I forget the name of that board, but I believe they worked with Gateron to make their red switches on it, but they still stated SteelSeries on them. This is the first time I've seen SteelSeries actually leave, a different brand's name on the switches, because again, it clearly states Gateron right there. Really interesting move by SteelSeries there. But anyway, so I'm like, okay, I got a bunch of boards with Gateron optical switches. Let me just take this switch, slap it in there, and hey, man, I got a bunch of switches I can try. Plus, they're cheap. But unfortunately, it didn't work. Whenever I put this optical switch from a different random board, put it in there, it did not register. It just wouldn't let me use the key. And what I really think that is, which the camera is not going to be able to pick up, but if you look at the little nub right down there, where the switch presses down, you see it right there. You see the yellow come through on that white. By the way, keep an eye on that. See how that yellow doesn't bottom out on the bottom of the switch? I want you to keep an eye on that and remember that. So coming over here to the regular Gateron optical, which is probably going to be harder to tell because you got the black housing, but you can see the red come down. By the way, it bottoms out right down there. You see it bottom right on the bottom there. So I don't know, again, why it didn't register. Is it because this one doesn't bottom out all the way and this one does? Or is it because this is a lot thicker down here and this is a little bit thinner? I'm not sure. Again, it looks like Gateron did design these specifically for SteelSeries, and that's, again, you're going to need the SteelSeries Gateron ones to work in this board. Now, one other really cool thing about these switches, if you look top down, again, regular Gateron optical switch, which you're going to find in tons of boards off Amazon and stuff, right? Over here is the SteelSeries Gateron, the Optipoint. Now, I want you to see if you can look at it and see the difference top down. I'll give you a quick second right here. So I'm not sure if you spotted it. Quite similar, yes, but if you look at the stem here, not the stem, but the whatever you call the stem going into, look at the SteelSeries. It goes in there, humps in the middle, and then goes flat. Are you catching what I'm talking about? So it's not a straight rectangle going across. It's got a little hump down there, and what that's doing is really keeping that switch nice and stable. It's not dancing around a lot. When you look at the regular Gateron, again, it's pretty much a straight rectangle going around there, and it just creates just a slight more movement, a little bit more dance on that switch. And you do notice that whenever you're typing on your board, whether the switch is moving around a little bit more or whatever, you feel it really locked in here into that switch. The keycaps aren't dancing around a whole lot. You don't feel a lot of movement. It feels really good for, again, an optical switch. Now let's go and do the sound test here. And I know, and I agree, sound tests on keyboards are quite boring a lot, right? But I want you guys to stick through this one and really kind of vibe with it and lock in some focus on this, right? Because you all have heard me say many times before that optical switch keyboards, which I got over here. This is one random Skylong off Amazon, right? This has the optical reds in it right here. I've always stated in multiple videos that they just sound plasticky, they sound cheap, and I just never really got down with them because, again, it felt like some cheap little clearance rack keyboard, you know what I mean? But focus on these here because they sound quite different. So listening to that sound test, there's two things you probably heard. Number one, a little bit of case ping or a little case rattle through there. We got optical switches, so again, you got the spring and then a whole bunch of plastic. But you heard that through there. But other than that, that's a different story. The number one thing you probably heard is, again, just really toy-like, just very plasticky, you know what I mean? Like, it felt like a toy, and it sounds like a toy. When you came over to the SteelSeries, you definitely got a little bit more of that premium sound and feel out of it. As far as the case ping, what I think SteelSeries did, as you see, you got the kind of cut in right there where it kind of comes in, and this is on the top. I think that kind of eliminated a lot of that sound right there. Now, does this sound perfect? No, it really doesn't, especially like the space bar. And there is not a single drop of lube on this keyboard. But stay tuned, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell because I will be doing a video about modding these. And it's going to be very easy since we can pop these switches out, hence being able to pop our stabs out and stuff. So we will mod this up and I believe we're going to be able to make it sound so much better. But out of the box, I think our core keys sound great. It's just our stabs and stuff that could use a little bit of work. So again, we'll have that video coming shortly. So not to keep harping on the switches here, but y'all know I love focusing on the use. What we're going to actually use the keyboards for. Myself being a gamer, right? That's what I want to focus on. We looked at the features, the functions, what it's packing to build, and we got a pretty good win so far. But again, focusing on these switches here, where I stated in the beginning, hey, it's not the Apex Pro. Don't think about it like the Apex Pro, right? You got the actuation of 1.0 to 1.5, which you can switch by the SteelSeries key, and then I believe it's I and O, and it goes in like a gaming mode or a typing mode. Now, even at 1.5, these switches are very fast. They really are, and you feel it. Now, when you go into the 1.0, it's like you just barely press it, and bam, you're off to the races, and you're really hitting there. So yeah, it's very fast switches, but it's not as fast as the Apex Pro. I believe the Apex Pro actuation, you can get down to 0.4 or 0.7, somewhere right around there. So again, it's not that fast, but even me using the Apex Pro or the new Apex Pro Mini, I've always kept my switches at like right at 1, maybe 1.5, something like that, you know what I mean? So for someone like me, this is perfectly fine. Call of Duty, lots of Halo, Destiny, something like that, and I do a lot of basic typing, and it did it all. I never utilized the Apex Pro to its fullest, which I'm sure a lot of us honestly don't. You know, if you're a really fast, aggressive Fortnite builder, that's really the only space I personally see where you're going to utilize the Apex Pro to its complete fullest. But still, being able to have that typing mode get to 1.5, you don't get too many typos, right? Now, I want to chime in here. I want to share something else with you guys, right? You all know my main keyboard. I absolutely love this, the Razer Deathstalker V2 Pro, I believe it is. Yeah, the V2 Pro, the low profile one. These switches are also very fast. Of course, it's low profile. They got the dampeners on it, so it's a completely different feel. But me coming from this, again, I'm using a low profile board, so my wrist is kind of sitting there and it's right at that, right? So on this one, bam, the keycaps are higher, the actuation's faster, and it just, again, it felt incredibly fast. I did notice that difference. That'll vary person to person. What are you using? What are you used to? How much are you going to notice that speed? Me coming from this to this, wow, I really noticed it was a big difference. Now, something else I want to point out here. This is like the hype of the world right now, the Wooting 60HE, you know, a fantastic keyboard. Again, I go right back to Apex Pro with the Wooting. The majority of us are not going to utilize what's packed in this keyboard. It's awesome, everything that's packed, and I'm not denying that. All right, so we're not done yet. There's a few more things I want to talk about here, right? You're probably catching my vibe talking about a lot of these keyboards, and I think that's what a lot of us miss when we're buying products. Oh, hey, what's the most popular? What's so-and-so using? What's this? It's not that. You really got to break it down. What are you going to utilize? You know? That's really what you need to break down right there, and that's the key thing. But what I really like about this is the price point that's coming in at $139 for the TKL, $129 for the 60%. Like, let me just be straight with you guys. I wouldn't touch the 60%. For $10 more, you're not just getting a TKL size, you're getting those media controls up top, which is a big bonus right there, I really feel. And again, I probably would have liked to seen the price a little bit different. Like, I would have liked to seen this at like $99. Okay, keep this at that price, because again, you're getting TKL, plus you're getting your media controls. I think the price is different, like $10. It's almost like no-brainer. Yo, get the TKL anyways. Inch and a half or 2 inches of space is not going to take up your stinking desk. You know what I mean? So seriously, go the TKL. Is this board perfect? Is it perfect? No, it's not. I think it's packing a punch at its price tag. I really do. But it's not perfect. And that's why I told you, subscribe, hit that bell, because I think that mod video is going to make this board absolutely phenomenal. I think it's going to be really great. So again, break down what are you going to utilize? You want a gaming keyboard, but you don't want to spend that price tag of the Apex Pro or heck the Deathstalker V2 Pro that I use. Those keyboards are expensive. They really are. I feel like this is really offering a lot for you at the price tag, again, sitting on your desk. I like what SteelSeries is doing here, making it really beneficial, productive, and higher tier spec-packed products available at a more friendly price tag. I really like that. And of course, I forgot to show the RGB as I always do, which you can adjust right on the board. You got your SteelSeries key and you can adjust your brightness all the way down. Bam, fire all the way up. Now again, you have PBT keycaps, so the RGB is gonna be dulled down a little bit, but it's really nice, subtle, really nice professional RGB. I love the way it looks.